With the NFL playoffs now starting to shake up, we are now going to see some of the top games of the NFL season. Yes, we did see plenty of them in the regular season, but the postseason is where we find out if you truly deserve to be there or not. Are you a pretender or do you belong? And that is exactly what we are going to go over today, and we are going to give you guys our predictions. I'm your host, Matthew Raridan, and this is Total Sports Talk Beyond the Lights. What is going on, guys, and welcome to another episode. We are glad you are here, and boy, do we have plenty to go over today because this is the NFL playoffs. The best of the best are there, and they are going to show up or show out. I want to introduce my host here first, David Street
What's up, y'all?
and Ed Smith.
Welcome, y'all.
Well, last week, both Ed and David's teams came out victorious in the playoffs as they have now advanced to the next round. But are they going to win this week? We are going to talk about if they are the favorites or if they are the underdogs, and if we feel like they are going to win and then continue to the championship rounds where they could possibly face each other. Wouldn't that be something? My team, as we know, Pittsburgh Steelers, they out. But I'm a football fan, so I love this, and I hope you guys do too. But I want to talk about the first game, and that is the Houston Texans at the Baltimore Ravens. We are looking at the number 1 seed versus the number 4 seed. And obviously, guys, the Ravens are the heavy favorites as they are minus 9.5. They're 9.5 point favorites in this game. And I want to say rightfully so, but I feel a little iffy about this. The Texans, however, are just behind the Green Bay Packers as they sit second in the biggest underdogs this week as they are the plus 330 dogs. So, I mean, you're seeing where the money's moving. The money is going towards the Baltimore Ravens, the number 1 seed with the MVP favorite. And, guys, this isn't the first time they played this year. And I'm sure you may not even remember it because it was week 1. That's how these teams started off their seasons, and that is how CJ Stroud started off his NFL career against the Baltimore Ravens. And here we are back to playing each other. And the Ravens pulled off this win back in week 1, 25-9. But as we know, a week 1 team versus a week 18 team can be completely different. Teams can flip total opposites. They could show potential early and then phase out, or quite the opposite. So I think both these teams have grown substantially this year. I mean, we're talking about CJ Stroud, who is a rookie. To have the success that he is having right now in the NFL throughout this season, I mean, a lot of players do not have that their rookie year, but we are seeing that with CJ Stroud. On the other end, Lamar Jackson, well, he's the MVP favorite. That's how much these two players have emerged from coming the MVP favorite to the offensive rookie of the year favorite. So the Ravens, they have grown a lot because you're looking at a defense that is top tier. Roquan Smith, Patrick Green, right in the middle there. That's where this defense is made. It revolves around them two. Whereas on the offense, as I've already said his name enough, Lamar Jackson, he can do anything. He's been labeled as the running back. We all know he's the quarterback, but he could play the running back because he's just that good. And he can drop those balls. He could throw dimes everywhere. So that's how these two teams are. I mean, sorry, the offense and defense goes for the Baltimore Ravens because they have grown a lot this year. And guys, let's not forget, they have dealt with their share of injuries. So to show what they can do after those injuries and where they're at now, I mean, I'm really impressed with this Baltimore team, and there's a reason why they're the number 1 seed in a very heavy AFC conference. Whereas the Texans, well, they've had their share of injuries too, but that hasn't held them back. Yes, it came down to the final game of the year for them to even clinch and win their division. But don't let that fool you. This Texans team, they did host the wild card round, and they were underdogs against a Cleveland Browns team who also bolsters one of the top defenses in the NFL. But CJ Stroud made them look like fools. He made him look like he was a seasoned NFL vet that controlled the game from start to finish, and that's exactly what he did. Whereas their defense, well, I want to say any team can make Joe Flacco look bad, but he was making a lot of defenses look bad towards the end of the year. But we all knew what was going to happen. Joe Flacco was not going to lead this team to a Super Bowl, just as Mason Rudolph wasn't for my Steelers. So I want to make sure I'm not playing bias. But reality sunk in, and we saw what this Browns team really was like on offense with Joe Flacco as their quarterback. But this Texans team, we're seeing them grow, and they are looking amazing. This is a team that if you're a free agent, you want to go play for them because you see so much upside, so much growth potential in this team. What D'Amico Ryans is doing with this Texans team also is probably going to guarantee him the coach of the year. So that's how impressive this Texans team has been since week one, how much growth they've had. But when it comes down, though, to youth versus experience, I mean, of course, Lamar Jackson has experience. I mean, that's a no brainer. You look at paper, you see that he has experience, but CJ Stroud looks like a player that has all the experience in the world. I don't think I've seen a rookie quarterback play as calm, cool and collected as he has his entire rookie season. And really quick, I have to say this: what NBC did with CJ Stroud and his post game comments, you should be ashamed. For those of you who don't know, CJ Stroud thanked his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, which is amazing. But for NBC to then, kind of cross that out and put different of his comments as the video, you should be ashamed. But CJ Stroud does look like someone that has actually the experience. But it comes down to this. We hear this every year. The rest and rust, are they synonymous? And sometimes it can be true. We have seen that plenty of times where the team who had the bye in the first round of the playoffs don't look like they should have been or how they ended the season. But this Ravens team needed this rest. Lamar Jackson, although is the MVP favorite, looked very banged up. He looked bruised when it came down to the end of the year because he was putting this offense, this team on his back to get them to the number one seed, to get that rest that they deserve. And so I think that this team is not going to be affected by the rest. I actually think that both these teams are going to come out swinging, unlike their first matchup where it was very slow and close at halftime, where that game ended up being exploded by the Ravens in the second half. I think it's going to be very heavy in the first half and then come down the stretch in the second half. It's going to be slow and close. But I think my prediction here, guys, is a 35-32 Baltimore Ravens victory with a none other than a walk-off field goal by the man himself, Justin Tucker, the GOAT, I should say. But guys, are you seeing this very similar? I mean, I don't know if the points you are or if the team is, but David, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree that the Ravens are going to win, and I think you make an interesting point about how CJ Stroud just completely shredded the Browns' number one defense. But let me just talk about the defense here. And I've talked before. I've given high praise to Baltimore's defense. Even though Cleveland statistically had the number one defense, I think most of us can agree that the true number one defense is the Baltimore Ravens. And if you want to know how good they are, apparently they're the first defense in NFL history to lead the league in points allowed per game, sacks, and takeaways. I believe I've talked about before about how they have a historically good defense. Well, those are the numbers to back it up. And I firmly believe that if the Ravens win the Super Bowl, you have to put that defense up there among the all-time greats. I understand that they have a really good offense and a lot of the best defenses in NFL history. Something they had in common was they didn't exactly have explosive offenses, giving more attention to the defense. But I don't think you should fault the Ravens for that. I mean, look at the Lions, which I'm going to talk about later. They have one of the best offenses in the league, and then their defense, while not terrible per se, I mean the Lions aren't exactly known for their defense. So I don't think you should punish the Ravens defense just because they have the benefit of also playing with an elite offense as well. But I agree. I think this is going to be the Ravens for the taking. Keep in mind, though, that the last time the Ravens did make it to the playoffs as the clear cut best team in the league, they got their asses kicked in the divisional round. And that was, if you guys remember, by the Titans. But the difference, though, is that the Titans back then were more of a veteran laden team, whereas Houston is a rookie led team. They got a rookie head coach. Their best offensive, well, maybe not best offensive player. Their quarterback is a rookie, and of course they have a rookie. They have a rookie defensive player in Will Anderson. So they don't really have that veteran experience that Tennessee did last time. So I don't know. Maybe Houston pulls off the upset, but I think this is Baltimore's for the taking. Ed.
Well, I disagree with you, Matt, on the rest versus rust aspect of it. And for the point that you brought up, David, the Lamar Jackson has not come out of playing, having that much time off and playing in sync with his offense ever. When you're talking about going into the playoffs, Lamar Jackson hasn't had a meaningful game to play in 3 weeks. So that is a long time to kind of sit there and study and do your practices and all that good stuff. And it's not the same as being in the game. CJ Stroud, on the other hand, has been in the game. He's been in the fire. He has been phenomenal facing a pass rush that had really dominated a lot of other teams
Mm-hmm.
in the NFL in the Cleveland Browns. So I'm actually going to go the opposite. I'm going to take the Texans here and a little bit lower score than what most people would think at 26-22. I think if I remember correctly, that is on the under, and that is certainly going to be a massive upset, which Vegas would really like.
Yeah, and let me add another point too that I think something that I see here, a lot of what this Ravens team has in common with that 2019 team that just kicked everybody's butt in the regular season is that in both scenarios, when the Ravens clinched home field advantage, John Harbaugh rested all of his starters, right? And you could argue that the rust that the Ravens had back in 2019 was a contributing factor in them getting destroyed by the Titans. Now, likewise this year, Ravens clinched home field advantage, and as a result, obviously John Harbaugh saw no point in playing his starters since their fate was already decided, so he rested them against the Steelers. Now, if the Ravens lose to the Texans, then everybody's going to point to John Harbaugh and they're going to say, dude, like, what the hell? Like, you did the exact same thing last time. You rested your starters. And because of that, they had some rust. And now we have deja vu all over again. So what gives? So if that does happen, obviously I'm not advocating for John Harbaugh to be fired. Like, that would be stupid. But he will have a lot to answer for.
Well, speaking of deja vu, I know Ed's going to have it here, but this next game I know brings back a lot of memories to Ed, and these teams have met several times before and in very important games. Um, and that's the Green Bay Packers and that's the San Francisco Niners. And this is actually very similar to the game I just talked about because the Niners are the number one seed and they also had rest. So, Ed, I'm just going to let you take this one away.
Well, talking about being deja vu, This is the 10th meeting in the playoffs between these two teams, which is the most in NFL history. So, and there's a there's a lot that can be said going all the way back to the 90s because those 10 matchups have been within the last 28 seasons. So that is a lot packed into a small time frame there. But like you were talking about, Matthew, on the lines for uh, the the Ravens and Texans game, this is a expected to be a blowout. Uh, San Francisco is favored by 9.5 and expected to drive the point total up over 50.5. And my poor Packers, we're at 340 plus 340 on the line. Uh, it would be stealing if we won, but uh, we'll get into that here in a minute. But one of the things that I wanted to take a look at in this game is the LaFleur Shanahan connection, history, record, because Shanahan, he's got quite the coaching tree out there right now between D'Amico Ryans, Matt LaFleur, Robert Saleh, Mike McDaniel. I mean, those are some big names in the coaching realm right now that is not part of the quote old guard that's out there. You're seeing a lot of success with at least three of them, Robert Saleh. Uh,
Well,
and
in fairness to Robert Saleh, didn't the Jets have one of the best defenses, and that is a specialty. I mean, it's not his fault that Rodgers got injured.
that's true. That's true. But, as the old adage goes, you are what your record is.
Yeah,
So that's
definitely.
that's kind of where I dropped that one. Uh, what we have found, as far as a regular season, LaFleur has Shanahan's number. They're 3-1. He's 3-1 against Shanahan in the regular season, but that's not where it counts. Two against Shanahan, and I think we remember watching those two games. One being the icicle laden game in Green Bay a couple of years ago, with the block punt for the touchdown that basically sealed the whole kit and caboodle for that one. But they do come from a very similar mindset as far as how offense runs. And right now, with LaFleur being able to run his offense through Jordan Love, uh, it's going to be a different preparation that Shanahan is having to do rather than just preparing for Aaron Rodgers' version of what that offense is. So they both run a very similar offense because they come off of that coaching tree that goes back to Kyle Shanahan's dad, and which comes off of Bill Walsh, which comes off of Paul Brown. I mean, there you can trace that all the way back if you want. But one of the big things about running these schemes on offense and defense is how many people are going to be available to do it. When if you take a look at the injury report for Green Bay, it's the walking wounded. They had 13 players in limited practice this week. That is an astounding number. When you're talking about four of them in Jair Alexander, you're talking AJ Dillon, you're talking Isaiah McDuffie, the middle linebacker. Uh, those that is going to be very difficult to get this rolling train that the 49ers are, slow down enough for their offense to keep up with them. Now, to look at San Francisco side, they really don't have much. They've got Dre Greenlaw, who's questionable with an Achilles injury. Clelin Ferrell, defensive end, he's out. Uh, the big one that I was looking for on this injury report is Trent Williams. Because as I've said on this show, San Francisco goes how Trent Williams goes. That blindside to Brock Purdy is just so important to him because without him, you see the 49ers score only 17 and a half points a game. With Trent Williams in the lineup, they score 32.4. That is more than double. That is almost double what you see without him. That is a huge number, and we've got to be looking at how the game goes, because Trent Williams not only got pulled for a groin injury just 3 weeks ago against the Ravens, he's been on a gimpy ankle for the past 2 seasons. What happens if he stays intact during this game? I don't see much of a way that San Francisco doesn't keep this rolling, but we'll have to see that portion of it. But the other part that Trent Williams helps out is the run game. The running game is so important to both of these offenses that you're not going to have the wide open tight end leaks and things of that nature without having that run game really set the tone. And when you're talking about running game for San Francisco, you've got Christian McCaffrey, and I'm not even looking at his rushing numbers. I'm looking at his scrimmage numbers. He had over 2,000 scrimmage yards for the season with 21 touchdowns and only fumbled 3 times, which I don't know if he even lost any of them. He is not only the running back by handoff, he is the running back by the screen game, to dump offs, to outlets, things that create space for him, and he will make everybody miss. He is a nightmare in the open field. But also on the flip side, Green Bay with Aaron Jones, since Aaron Jones has been back, he is averaging 119 yards per game, since for the last 4 weeks since he's come off of injury. But he is going against San Francisco's run defense, which is third in the NFL at only 89 yards a game. So there's going to be a little irresistible force versus immovable object as far as that portion is concerned. And when you factor in these different ideas, I'm gonna say it. I don't want to say it. Don't make me say it, but I'll say it. The Niners will win, and they will cover. It'll be 33-20 49ers over my Green Bay Packers. Matthew, are you seeing this the same way?
Almost exactly, and that's what's kind of scary. I actually have 32-21 Niners. So, I mean, we're right there in points, but I want to give Green Bay credit because since Aaron Jones has came back, they are looking like such a complete team, but if there's a team out there that can make you not look complete anymore, well, it is the San Francisco 49ers, especially when healthy. But I think the key factor here is, and we talked earlier when we mentioned Roquan Smith, but that's Fred Warner. Fred Warner is a game-changing linebacker that can not only cover, but he can fill those gaps really fast and really hard and make a tackle against the running back. So I think he sees the field just like Christian McCaffrey sees the field on the opposite side. So I think when you have two guys like that playing for you, you are going to have a great chance at winning. So I see it 32-21 Niners.
Yeah,
And Bosa can get there in a hiccup.
Can he?
He'll be able to get to Jordan Love in a hiccup.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost everything points to a clear-cut 49ers victory, which is why I'm taking the Packers in a massive upset. I don't have any logic. I don't have anything to back up, my prediction. Ed, I just have a really good feeling about your Packers, man. Like, I just have a really good feeling that they're going to pull off the upset. And again, I have no logic. I have no basis for that. But a lot of times in sports, especially playoffs, logic goes out the window. And logic is going out my window today.
I'm hedging my bets, so David, please be right.
I mean, I definitely for Ed's sake.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it is. It is time for a little drinky poo there. Matt, what do you got?
Oh man, this here, man, I gotta tell you guys about this. Man, are you looking for a delicious cup of coffee that also supports a great cause? Well, look no further than North Arrow Coffee Company. Their specialty grade coffee beans are ethically sourced and roasted to perfection. And I mean it, guys, perfection. And it provides a rich and satisfying taste in every cup. But that's not all. Every purchase of North Arrow helps support life affirming organizations that provide resources and support to families in need. And plus, you can get a 10% discount on your first purchase with the promo code ADP10. You guys need to write that down, ADP10, and it supports all of us. But don't wait. Visit northarrow.co/ADP today and start your day with a cup of coffee that truly makes a difference, like all of us. And this, guys, right here, this is Honduras number 4. You guys need to try them out because they weren't kidding. It's perfection right here. So check them out, guys. That is North Arrow Coffee. But that isn't the greatest thing. I mean, to me, that's pretty damn great. But to be even greater, well, that would be a Tampa Bay Bucks victory, at least for David, it would be. And they go into Detroit, guys. And guys, I have to say this because I know you guys you're gonna talk about it too. But how about those cold weather conditions in Detroit, David? Are the Bucks going to be able to play in that?
You do know they play indoors, right? They got a dome.
Oh, they do. How did I not know that? You'd think I'm
Trying to
on
do
a
my
sports
best.
show, I would be more prepared to know that, right?
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to do my best Todd Bowles impression there. Hey, listen, man. Okay, we're all human, and reporters are human too. They're going to make mistakes, but my gosh, you should at least have basic information down, man. But listen, I don't want to rip on that reporter too much. She already feels bad enough. She knows what she did, so.
Yeah, that she does. But yeah, let's talk about this game though.
Yeah, guys, this is really interesting because there is an underdog, and that is my Bucks. The Lions are 6.5 point favorites, but what is really interesting is that despite the fact that there is a literal underdog here, both teams feel like they're underdogs. I thought David Cohn from Crane Company made a really good point about that. And when I saw him say that, I'm thinking, my gosh, like that I thought of literally the exact same thing. So like our minds must be totally intact. But I think he was totally right. This is a game where both teams feel like they're the underdogs. Like this is a game between two teams that really kind of thrive off of that hard man's working blue collar mentality. And there's a lot of similarities between these two teams, other than the fact that they both feel like they're underdogs. One of them, of course, being that both teams have quarterbacks who were drafted number one from other teams, right? Like they were kind of tossed around. Nobody really believed in them, and now they're proving everybody wrong with how well they're doing for their respective teams. And then I'm looking at their the defenses. Um, whereas like when I look at the Lions defense, it's not great per se, but it is a lot better than it was last year. And the one thing that the Lions thrive in is rush defense. Of course, when you have guys like Alex Anzalone and Aiden Hutchinson up front, it's no surprise that any unit that's led by those two is going to be able to stop the run well. And that's exactly what Tampa Bay is as well. The Bucks have a really good run defense as well, and neither of our secondaries are particularly good. I mean, for us, I know we got Antoine Winfield Jr., but aside from him, our secondary isn't exactly anything to write home about. Obviously, last time, when the Lions played us, they killed us. But looking back from that time, the Bucks are a different team. I mean, back then it really seemed like we were just going to hit the lottery and just be what we seem to be destined to be without Tom Brady, and that is just a mediocre football team. Well, by the grace of God, that did not happen. And then the Lions, I don't think they've changed much, guys. I think they're pretty much the same team that they've been from start to finish. They've been consistently good from the beginning of the season up to where they are now. So I don't see a lot of changes there, but I think we are seeing that Tampa Bay now is a different team from before because we can see the identity that they are trying to, run with. But at the end of the day, like partially to avoid jinxing my own team, but I'm taking the Lions here. Listen, the city of Detroit is hungry, man. I mean, did y'all hear how loud Ford Field was against the Rams? Like, I could I swear I could feel my TV shake. Like that's how loud those guys up in Motor City were, man. So I gotta take the Lions, man. Obviously, I hope that I'm wrong here. But it being in Detroit and the momentum they have there, I just can't pick against the Lions in good conscience. So give me the Lions and a 33-31 victory over my Bucks.
Guys, am I the only one that when I tune into a Lions game and I see Anzalone out there, I think, is that Thor from Asgard playing
Yeah,
out there? I mean, with
yeah.
his white blonde luscious hair playing out there. I mean, it's like Troy Polamalu, but instead you're looking at Thor. But I mean, if you're comparing anyone to Thor on that team, it's obviously Aiden Hutchinson. That guy is a generational talent, and we are seeing it in full effect. But yeah, I mean, their fans are loud. I mean, they're hoping one of their teams are going to win. I mean, look at the Pistons. How horrible they are. They were only cheering for wings, and then the Tigers. I mean, we see kind of what's been happening with
Yeah.
them throughout the years. But this
Well,
Lions
and
team,
the Red Wings are having a decent season, like a much better season than they've had in quite a while.
well, when
So
you're that close to Canada, you better do good, or the expectation's a lot higher there. I mean,
true.
your swimming pools, your lakes, your ponds are ice rinks from birth, pretty much. So it's they better do good. But yes, this Lions team is different, and it has given the city of Detroit, I think, a lot of confidence, especially within that organization when they once were ashamed to even wear a jersey. They would have a paper bag on their face, but now you're seeing it completely different. But really quick, my prediction, I'm with you, David. I have it 24-17 Lions.
Yeah, I'll just add one more point. CJ Gardner Johnson. I re- I I really want to like you, man. I really want to root for you because you are a Gator, and Alex Anzalone is a Gator as well. Go Gators, okay? But CJ Gardner Johnson runs his mouth a lot. I think we know that. He made some very interesting comments about Baker Mayfield, basically implied that we don't have a good passing game. Now, in fairness, when we did play the Lions earlier in the season, that was arguably Mayfield's worst game of the season. He missed a lot of passes. He didn't have any touchdowns in that game. So I can sort of see where Gardner Johnson is coming from. But if we end up winning, then guys, if I remember correctly, this is the same guy who talked about Tennessee saying you ain't never seen a duck pull a truck, and then the Volunteers ended up killing my Gators. So listen, Gardner Johnson, if you guys win, kudos to you, and you're a Gator, so I don't want to hate on you, man. But if we end up winning, then you're going to look like a fool, straight up.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing in this game is the fact that Detroit is multiple on offense, whereas Tampa Bay, from what I've seen, is fairly one dimensional.
Yeah,
You've
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
2,000-yard receivers and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and not much else, when it comes to offensive production. So, with that being said, Detroit, because they have a running a run first mentality, a down and gritty mentality, but yet can still work with Laporta. They'll work with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs. Um, you know, there's so much there to try and cover that I don't think Tampa is going to be able to cover it all. This is going to be a game in which I actually have it as the one, not upset, but the one game that gets out of hand pretty quickly. And I have it at 38-13 Lions. Sorry, David.
well, you're going to be held accountable if that score ends up not being true. But
Yeah, I
only if we win,
Bring
because
the heat, man. Bring the heat.
if the Lions still win, but it's a close game, then obviously it's not going to mean anything. And yeah, you're exactly right. Like we are a one dimensional team, and our run game has gotten better, yes, but the fact remains that we're still dead last in rushing offense, and the Lions. I think they're a top five in rushing offense.
Well,
So
and that's the point I wanted to bring up. You're looking at a Lions team that lost Jamal Williams and they lost DeAndre Swift, but yet they have one of the top rushing attacks in the league, and that goes credit to their offensive line. Offensive linemen do not get credit enough, and I'm going to because I'm a Ducks fan, but Penei Sewell is one of the reasons why, and he's on their offensive line. But yeah, what this Lions team has done by losing two of their starting running backs, but then replacing them with Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs and still being up towards the top, kudos to them. But the reason why I couldn't pick the Bucks here as much as I kind of wanted to, because I like Baker Mayfield, but it's because of that. When Baker Mayfield is on, he looks like a premier quarterback, but when he's not, it can be very mediocre. And that's my thing is sometimes you don't know what Baker you're gonna get, and that's why it's like I have to kind of give it to the Lions because although Jared Goff is no superior quarterback, he's still pretty consistent. And I talked about that the other day. He'll give you a consistent enough numbers with that running game. It should help to put them over the top. But, you know, I want to talk about this last game, guys. This here is the marquee matchup of the playoffs. It is the game that everyone is talking about. And it's almost like I want to say rightfully so because of these two teams and what they've done in the playoffs the last several years. And that, guys, is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Buffalo Bills. I want to put that at there because that's important. But this has become pretty much a staple in the AFC playoffs over the last several years. It's either these two teams or it's the Chiefs and the Bengals in the AFC playoffs over the last several years. And it never lets us down as football fans, unless you hate the Chiefs that much. Then yes, it has let you down because the Chiefs always find a way to win. But it's just one of those games that delivers on every occasion when they meet in the playoffs. And guys, if you don't remember, they played each other just not too long ago, just 2 years ago, and what it was pretty much called one of the best games ever. It was the game of the ages where the Bills were 13 seconds away from making the AFC Championship game. Yes, you heard that correctly, 13 seconds. But there's a guy named Patrick Mahomes who had something to say about that, and he stormed his team down and tied the game with a tying field goal, Harrison Butker, to bring the game to overtime. I mean, I don't know much quarterbacks that could do that with 13 seconds left, but Patrick Mahomes did. And then what did they do? They won the coin toss in overtime, and they accepted because, well, they had the hot hand. Why not ride the hot hand while you can? And they did that. Well, on the opening drive in overtime, game-winning touchdown to none other than Travis Kelce. And I talk about having that hot hand, and it makes you wonder, well, who's going to be hot in this cold? Who's going to stay hot? Because, guys, the Chiefs were looked down on because they did not look great this year. Well, they somewhat proved some of the doubters wrong in this last week's playoff matchup. And it's kind of hard because I say some doubters because of how cold it was. Miami was out of their element. It was clear as day they're out of their element. So how much do you want to give validation to that? That's on you. But the Bills team also had something to prove as well, and I'd say they did so against my Pittsburgh Steelers. Josh Allen is a very scary threat at quarterback because I talked about earlier, but Lamar Jackson can run it, but Josh Allen is a different runner than Lamar Jackson, and although Josh Allen is actually very fast, he is physical. Trying to take him down is like trying to take down almost Derrick Henry because that's how big he is. He is humongous. So trying to take him down is hard, and we know he likes to run the ball, and he's a very smart runner as well. So I think these two teams do come into this game hot, but it's not going to be as cold there. It's going to be in the low 20s. I say that is still pretty cold, but it's not going to be as cold as the games were last week when with a wind chill in Kansas City of minus 27, which I want to say is the third coldest game of all time, fourth. So regardless, that's pretty damn cold. And the Buffalo Bills, we know what happened there because they were postponed a day because of the snow, the wind. It was a blizzard there, pretty much. So the next question, though, that you want to ask is it changes from being in Kansas City 2 years ago to now being in Buffalo. Is that going to be important? Well, in all sports, having home field advantage is really important when you're the home team. When you hold that card, you kind of hold being the favorite. And that is exactly what the Bills are. They are the favorites in this game. But there's a crazy stat here that a lot of people may not realize. This is Patrick Mahomes' first road playoff game ever. And it seems like Mahomes has been in the league forever, but I mean, he has been for several years, and he's been at the top for several years. This is his first true road playoff game. I say that because a lot of people beg to differ because, well, they played the Bucks in Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. So, I mean,
Yeah, but that
also,
was that was a neutral site game. Like that
I
was classified as neutral.
Well,
So
absolutely, but I mean, when you're playing
yeah,
at the home of Tampa, so that's why I say some may not consider it, but this is true. On paper, this is Patrick Mahomes' first ever road playoff game, so, uh, that needs to be said. That is important. We've never seen him on the road. We don't know how he's gonna perform in the playoffs on the road, but I think we know Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, and he's pretty damn good in the playoffs, and but being at home though for the Bills, I think is going to be vital. I really think it is. I think it's going to be very important. And I'm going to sound like a hypocrite here because I've said it all along. Wait till the Chiefs make the playoffs. They may look sucky in the regular season, but they're going to make us look like fools in the playoffs. We all know they're going to go to the Super Bowl. It's the Chiefs. It's Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, uh, Travis Kelsey, Taylor Swift, who's obviously not part of the team, but you get my drift when I mention her name. But I think the Bills are going to win this game, guys. The storyline coming into it, of course, is Mahomes' first road playoff game, but let's not overshadow that the Chiefs have a legit defense out there, and the Bills' offense and offensive line has been very scary, especially down this stretch. So I do want to give them credit where credit's due because uh, they've dealt with injuries, but this Buffalo team, who is going to be without once again Gabe Davis on offense and then Taylor Rapp on defense, which is going to be big when you play the Chiefs. But that offensive line, I watched them last week against the Steelers, and I saw what they were able to do, and that offensive line is legit. And I think that that's going to be a factor against this Chiefs defense and defensive line with Chris Jones. It's going to come down to that in the trenches there, who is going to stand out the most. But in the end, I've got the Bills winning this game, and it's going to be close, guys. It's going to be 27-24. I think it's going to be very close the entire game, and it's going to end just I can't tell you how it's going to end, but I know it's going to be 27-24 Bills.
yeah,
Doesn't
and
this game feel like something that you just kind of let let go until the last 5 minutes of the game? Yeah,
Mhm.
you kind of keep it on like in the background because you know it. There's going to be plays that are made, but you go and do those things that you do while the game is on.
Mhm.
Like for me, if I have like other things around the house that need to get done,
Mhm.
I'll do that in the first quarter or something like that. Just kind of let the game play out. But then by the time you hit, the last 5 minutes of the ball game, that's when fireworks just go off for these two teams. You mentioned the playoff game a couple years ago. You got to love a playoff game that actually rewrites the rules for the NFL. They completely rewrote the overtime rules because of that game expressly. So that is an amazing accomplishment for how great a game that was. And I do see a lot of similarities happening here. It's going to be very close, and it gets right down to the end on who's more buttoned up for the clock management toward the end of the game. I do think the venue matters, and I do think that crowd matters. That the Bills Mafia is no joke whatsoever, and the team feeds off of them 100%. Yes, you're going to have all the plays made on the field, but uh, that Bills team does feed off the crowd energy. Busting through tables in the parking lot all the way into the stadium. It is a fun time. Just watching some of the clips of that. In the end, I do think that the Kansas City receivers will let Patrick Mahomes down enough to where the Chiefs lose this game, and I have it similar once again. And just so everybody knows, we do not talk to each other about what score predictions that we have. I've got the Bills winning at 29-25.
Okay.
David,
Yeah.
what are you seeing on that?
Well, I agree that the Bills are going to. I think the Bills are going to win. This feels like a game where it's finally going to turn in their favor. And you know what this Bills team kind of reminds me of, Matthew. It is a different sport, but this Bills team kind of reminds me of the Washington Capitals, because what do these teams have in common? Well, you have a Bills team where the Chiefs have really had their number in the playoffs, and then the Washington Capitals, as you would know, Matthew, as a Penguins fan, just repeatedly got their asses kicked in the postseason by the Penguins year after year after year, until finally the dam broke and the Capitals were finally able to vanquish their demons. So I could see something similar happening in this scenario. Now, it should also be noted that when the Capitals finally did beat the Penguins, that was also kind of the season where everybody stopped having faith in the Capitals, and like, the one season where nobody expects the Capitals to even do anything. Of course, they go all the way, and a lot of people still have faith in the like a lot of people have faith in the Bills. Like, I'm pretty sure they're the Super Bowl favorites. So maybe it won't happen this time. Maybe it won't be until the Bills are true underdogs that they'll finally able to overcome the Chiefs. So yeah, I just see a lot of similarities there, but I'm going to take the Bills in a 36 to 24 victory over the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's a big margin, and it could happen if these wide receivers for the Chiefs just continue to drop balls and not show up in games when they matter. But guys, if you were to ask me at the beginning of the year, who's going to have a better season, Delvin Cook or James Cook? They're brothers. I'd be like, that's Delvin all the way. No. What James Cook has done, he has really revitalized this rushing attack for the Buffalo Bills. We all know what Josh Allen can do on his feet. But what Cook is doing in this running game, it is adding an extra threat that defenses aren't prepared for. When you have a quarterback who could run, you have a running back that could run, and you have a receiver like Stephon Diggs out there, that leaves you lost. But I didn't even mention their best part of their offense. That's both their tight ends with Kincaid and Knox. I don't really think a whole lot of teams can stop that. When we talk about Travis Kelce and the Chiefs, we talk about them and how great they are because of that attack. Well, they've got two guys that are Travis Kelce like. Now, I'm not saying they're Travis Kelce, because we know Travis Kelce is among the greatest, if not the greatest. But Dalton Kincaid and Knox out there at tight ends, I think is going to be just a little too tough for this Kansas City defense to stop all that, as far as that's on offense for the Bills. But that's all of our predictions today, guys. But we have actually some breaking news that happened earlier, and we are going to switch really quick to college football. But the reason we're doing that is because we thought this guy was actually maybe going to get considered for a head coaching job in the NFL, possibly. But that's Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien is heading to the Ohio State as their offensive coordinator. And David's going to talk to us actually about this move here.
Yeah, speaking of bills, right, from one bill to another. Yeah, this move was certainly surprising, guys, but like only surprising in the sense that I don't think anybody expected this to happen. I don't think anybody expected Bill O'Brien to go to Ohio State. It's like, oh, that happened. Oh, I did not see that coming. But let me tell you, I think this is a brilliant move on Ryan Day's part. I know there's some speculation as to if this means that O'Brien is the head coach in waiting, if Ryan Day is ready to step down. I don't see that. I don't see it like that at all. I think this is just a scenario where Ryan Day recognizes his deficiencies as a play caller, and he just wants to relinquish that responsibility to somebody else. As a head coach, you're not going to be good at everything, right? And for Ryan Day, I think he sees an area where he's not the best at it, and so he's giving it to somebody who is more proven. And let me tell you guys, Bill O'Brien is certainly proven as a play caller. Let's not forget that Bryce Young won the Heisman Trophy under Bill O'Brien. Alabama had one of the best offenses in the country the 2 years that O'Brien was there, especially passing offense with Bryce Young under center. But not just as a play caller, guys. Bill O'Brien is a really good coach, period. He was a really good head coach for the Houston Texans. He led the Texans to 4 AFC South titles, okay? What ultimately ended up being Bill O'Brien's downfall was the fact that he was a horrible, horrible GM, a terrible GM for the Texans. But just keep him away from GM duties, and that guy can fly. All right, coaching for him has never been an issue. So kudos to Ryan Day and Ohio State. I think this is a fantastic move for them, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I think Ohio State is going to win the championship. I think that's too early to predict now, but I think certainly what I can say is that I think you're going to see a much, much, much more improved offense by the Buckeyes than we've seen before. But Ed, what do you think?
I think we're going to see an offense that has more depth to it than just chucking it down to uh, these top end wide receivers that Ohio State seems to have on their roster every single season. You mentioned about his head coaching, Bill O'Brien's head coaching prowess. I want to take it back to when he took over Penn State after they had such turmoil within their program that some people were talking death penalty. I mean, it was that bad. But there he goes. He takes the Penn State head coaching job and makes them competitive almost immediately. He was only there for a couple of seasons before he moved on to the Texans, but that was truly a stepping stone job for him for how quickly he could turn around that program as a whole. Now, when he got to the Texans, you got to remember he inherited Matt Schaub. Who remembers Matt Schaub? Really? I mean, and to your point about him being a GM, who in their right mind would give away DeAndre Hopkins for a 6th round pick? I mean,
Apparently,
really?
Bob. Bob does.
I mean, that was horrendous. But but in the end, do we think Bill O'Brien may be the best of the Bill Belichick coaching tree? I mean, that's a hard road to hoe, to turn an old phrase. But who else does Bill Belichick have in his holster as far as successful coaches? Be after them leaving New England, not a whole lot. So this uh, tells me that Bill O'Brien is comfortable being in the college game and is okay working in these elite programs as an offensive coordinator, just biding his time until he finds a job that fits him specifically. Is it a matter of Ryan Day finally saying, "Oh, that's it for me. I'm not taking the people in Columbus anymore," especially if they lose another game, another the game? Maybe. But Bill O'Brien is certainly setting himself up for success, either staying at Ohio State and having a top 10 program to work with year in and year out, or, parlaying that into getting another shot at head coaching, whether it be in the college ranks or the NFL.
Well, as we've talked about, we're all in agreement that Bill O'Brien was a horrible GM, but he was a fantastic head coach, and he was a really good head coach for the Texans. So hopefully somebody gives him a shot. Just keep him away from the front office, and you're good to go, Matthew.
Yeah, I remember when Nick Saban called him up, brought him in as OC. I was like, Wow. I mean, this was crazy that when he had did that, and it paid off hugely for Alabama and for Bill O'Brien. I want to put that for both of them. And when you have a guy who has coached with Nick Saban and Bill Belichick, you got to be pretty damn good. And I we've seen a lot of coaching changes right now in college football, but I think this has to be the best coaching addition out of all of these moves, and he's not even a head coach. He's going to be an offensive coordinator. That's how huge I think this is for Ohio State. We saw Kalen DeBoer go to Alabama. Those are big shoes to fill, but regardless, I still don't think that or Jed Fish going to Washington is actually a better move than Bill O'Brien going to Ohio State to be their offensive coordinator. So I think that is something to look out for and to see. Is he going to be taking over for Ryan Day, or is he going? What's this going to do for him? Because I think it's only going to go up for Bill O'Brien from here. So I think he's playing his cards right, and this is really great for him. But did you want to say something really quick, David?
Yeah, actually, I have a question. Do we really think that Ryan Day would call it quits? Like, keep in mind, he's still really young for a head coach, by the way. And how long has he been at Ohio State? 3, 4 seasons? He hasn't been there for very long. There's no way he's going to call it quits. What do you think, Ed?
I don't think he calls it quits. But I do think that if there is uh, another game against the team up north that he is not successful in, then he's going to be out of
Oh, I agree.
Columbus faster before the bus actually gets back to the practice facility.
No, I agree.
They'll leave him on the side of the road somewhere.
Yeah, he'll definitely get.
So Ryan Day will certainly, land on his feet. We'll just see how it goes, from there.
Oh, I agree. He'll definitely get fired before he quits for sure.
Yeah, that was my point. I don't think he'll call it quits. I think Ohio State will call it quits on him if he does not produce and win a game against Michigan. That'd be 4 in a row. I mean, he'll be out faster than that female reporter probably was with Todd Bowles. So
Yeah, and plus, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I don't think Ryan Day ever played for Ohio State, right? Like he does not have that advantage that Jim Harbaugh, had. Whereas, like, yes, Jim Harbaugh lost to Ohio State for several years in a row, but he's also a legacy guy. Like he's an alum. He played for Michigan, so he had that going for him. Ryan Day does not.
yeah, my brother-in-law is a a very very diehard Ohio State fan, and he wants Day out. I mean, he wanted him out the day they lost to Michigan at the game earlier this year. So fans definitely aren't on his side, but fans aren't the AD. They don't make those decisions, but
Yeah.
if they are rowdy enough, it could happen. But that is about all we have today, though, for you folks. If you could please hit that subscribe button, we would really appreciate it. And leave a comment. Let us know your predictions for these playoff games that are happening. I mean, there are some very marquee matchups this weekend, so I'd love to hear your predictions, especially with some of the big underdogs. Could that possibly change? We heard it on here that the Houston Texans, although they are a big underdog, they could pull off the victory. So please hit that comment, put it in there, and we will be happy to see that and see if you are right. But lastly, guys, go ahead, check out support American Daily Press. That is ADP that we talk about. They are the reason we have this show, so I want to give them a shout out. So please check out American Daily Press, and also, like I mentioned earlier, North Arrow Coffee Company. They are amazing coffee, and chances are Jim Harbaugh probably drinks that coffee too. So if you know, you know. But until next time, guys, we are rounding third, and we are headed for home.